We have a housing crisis here in America, but nobody's connecting it to the SAVE Act. The SAVE Act is set up to only allow people in our country that are here legally, that are actual citizens, to vote in our elections. Elections have consequences. Elections decide immigration policy. And whenever you have, I would say, upwards of 20 million people here in this country that could potentially vote in our elections, then that's a real problem. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button on this video. Elections decide so much, and there's so much on the table right now. And if we continue to allow this to happen, well, I don't know how long we maintain our sovereignty. Elections have consequences. That's what we were always told. Now, the other thing I want to talk about, and I think we can connect multiple dots here. When we start deporting 350,000, 400,000, 500,000, that's huge. We're sending them back to Haiti. We're sending them back to Syria. But that doesn't really help the overall picture yet. But there is a housing crisis. And if we get to the levels that I hope we get to, with this 20 to 30 million people being deported, that's when the housing crisis gets fixed. Because all of those people that are here in our country, they've got to have somewhere to sleep. And where they're sleeping at right now, it's probably Section 8 housing. It's probably subsidized housing. It is government funding housing. That's where they are sleeping. Think about this. There are illegal aliens in our country right now living in homes that your children will never be able to afford if we continue down this path. Now, right now, Congressman Mike Johnson, he is the majority leader of the Congress. He just sent a bill to President Trump's desk to be signed to allow for more, I would say, unfettered building of homes. So if you're in construction, this is exactly what you want. You want to be able to build more homes. It's going to alleviate some of the zoning, some of the restrictions, so that more houses, more apartments can be built in densely populated areas that you're already seeing. Everyone that lives in any sort of town across America is seeing apartments pop up everywhere. Now, here's the problem with that. To fill those apartments, it requires money. And there's a lot of people that don't have the money to be moving into those apartments. But that's where the Democrat Party has kind of fixed their own problem, because they give these newcomers, we'll call them those just for the algorithm here on YouTube. They like that term, newcomers. The people that are here illegally, I would say, are getting subsidized. They're getting money to go and live in these apartments and these houses and these neighborhoods, these big high-rise hotels in New York City. The government, and I say government, you are paying for that. Now, the one thing that bothers me is that no one is connecting the dots of how the SAVE Act would fix the housing crisis. Elections decide immigration policy, as you see what happened in November of 2024. As soon as this new president, President Trump, was elected, the whole immigration policy changed. We have not had this influx at the southern border. We've actually had, basically, migration levels are back to the 1920s. We're talking pre-Depression era level migration. That is stunning. That is an accomplishment that nobody wants to talk about. The other thing is, by sending these people home, we're no longer paying for them. We're not paying for their tab. And everyone that you send home opens up a bed here in America for a citizen. When you start sending home 350,000 Haitians, that opens up 350,000 apartments, 350,000 beds, 175,000 homes. If we get to the level of immigration where we're sending home 20, 30 million illegal migrants here, not only are we removing them off of the voter rolls, which would reduce electoral college numbers, which would reduce congressional seats, we're also opening up homes for your kids, for your grandkids, for them somewhere to live. A country so great right now is dependent on nonprofits. And I want to use, for an example, an organization called Tunnels to Towers. They help house veterans, first responders. We live in the greatest country in the world, but yet we're relying on a nonprofit to take care of heroes here in the United States. But we have a political party that has allowed 20 to 30 million zeros to come here, and they prioritize them over American citizens, over American veterans, over American first responders that need somewhere to live with adaptive housing, some of them because of injuries, because of, amputations that they sustained in battle protecting this country. That in itself should explain how misguided that this one political party is. Now, if we started or if we ramped up the deportations, we know that's going to open up homes. We know that's going to open up housing. But there's another problem that we're having right now that no one's really addressing. And that is that the current birth rates in the United States are not at a level of replacement. If we go back to the early 1980s, the birth rates for women was at about 2.2, 2.3 children per woman. Right now, birth rates are at like 1.2 to 1.5. So we're not keeping up with replacing our own kind, replacing our own citizenry with new children. The birth rates are that low. So I know a lot of us have talked about before what they call the Great Replacement Theory. And for a long time, if you mentioned that, you were a conspiracy theorist. You were thought to be crazy. But now the data actually shows it, that we cannot keep up with our own decline, with the amount of deaths that are happening right now. So how do we fix that? Well, we bring in people, massive amounts of people, and we bring in people that multiply like rabbits or rats. And that's how some people thought it would be a great idea to fix two problems at the same time. Number one, their voting base. You bring in people that will never vote against free handouts. You bring in people that will always like a subsidy, always like some EBT, always like some welfare and some food stamps. So you bring those people in. And then you bring in people, those very same people, that will multiply. And, the birth rate, I want to say in South Africa, Kenya, Nairobi, all of these great countries, the birth rate there is like 4.2, 4.5 per woman. So it was genius what they tried to do, but they got caught. And I say caught because of the election back in 2016 when President Trump was elected. He put the brakes on so many things that they had to do something to get rid of him, because that was the only way that you and I knew what was really happening. During Biden's administration, the numbers are 20 million plus the amount of illegals that came into our country. 20 million plus. We don't really have accurate numbers because they didn't keep accurate numbers at the southern border. And now, with the border closed, we're starting to really get a count on what is happening. And I know many of you, just like myself, would like for a new census to be conducted, because I would like to have some of these benefits, some of these laws redrawn. And that's what the census does. It would get an accurate count of citizens. That's what I want counted, not people that are here illegally. Today at 10 o'clock Eastern, the Supreme Court is set to give a ruling on the birthright citizenship court case that the Trump administration put forward. And that could change everything. We've got the border secure. We know people are here that shouldn't be here. A lot of them come here basically for this birthright tourism. We know that is a thing. It has been found to be true, where people just come to this country to have a baby. And once they have a baby here, those are called anchor babies. Drop an anchor, just like we did in the Navy. So if the Supreme Court rules that birthright citizenship is not legal, then the game has changed. And I think we're seeing the game change in real time. The housing crisis could be resolved with the stroke of a pen. And I say the president's stroke of the pen. Congress has voted on passing the SAVE Act 4 times. But for some reason, the Senate Majority Leader, more importantly, John Thune, will not bring it to a vote on the Senate floor. Even though we have 50 votes, and the deciding vote would be J.D. Vance, the vice president. He cast the deciding vote in a tie. Now, Senator John Thune has just sent his senators home for the better part of 3 weeks for a recess. The president has the ability to call or cancel this recess and sequester these senators back to Washington, D.C. I don't know if he does that or not. I would like to see it happen. I would also like to see the President of the United States not sign this housing bill that Congress has put forward to him on his desk until we get something done with the SAVE Act. There's multiple people that are saying we have until August to get the Save America Act passed in order to be, in place for the midterm elections. Midterms are in November. And like I said before, elections decide immigration policy. If the Democrats or one party wins this, then that's how this plays out. And I can't, for the life of me, decide how we have allowed this to happen. And we have allowed to happen. I believe a lot of it has been empathetic. We have decided to be the country of sorrow and feeling sorry for these other countries. We have basically decided that refugees are more important than citizens. And there's many of you that would agree with that. And a country can only carry on for so long. Go back and think about Rome and the fall of the Roman Empire. There's 3 big reasons that Rome fell. Number 1, they taxed their citizens to death. We have experienced that. Number 2, they let people outside of their Roman country, the Roman citizens, join the military. We have seen that. And number 3, they have let people outside of Rome come in and make decisions for Rome. And that's where we're at right now. We have people that are here in the United States making decisions in Congress, making decisions in the Senate, that maybe their allegiances are not necessarily to the United States. That's kind of where I'm at right now this morning. And it's a beautiful day here in America. And we've got more beautiful days to come. Are these days easy? No. Are these days going to get a little tougher? Are you going to get called names because you're putting your country first? Absolutely. But that is the way that the empathetic blackmail works. You're not a good human. You're not a good citizen. You're not a good American unless you're feeling sorry for people from somewhere else. And I'm sad to say, for all of you, that game is over. My empathy for people not from here, not one of me, not one of us, is over. But the housing crisis could be solved with the SAVE Act. And there are certain people in this country that don't want to admit that. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button on this video.